An unannounced trip from Texas to New York becomes incredibly strange for a man named Gary Sudbrink. Strange questions from strange men and a series of phone calls from an unknown entity make Gary question his own reality. You're listening to the Mysterious Brews Podcast, and tonight we bring you the case of You're Being Impersonated by the Other Voice.
Welcome to a deep, dark, semi-moist, kind of like three-quarter chubbed basement.
Jesus.
Everybody's kicking the tires and lighting the fires when it's school time. In Georgia, we have started back amongst the COVID pandemic. We will not get into that, but we will just say that it's different.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I don't know how long it'll last, but yeah, we're back working.
Yep, and we I kind of hinted to our Patreon members. I am in the middle of changing jobs, so that early access that you get is roughly about 6 or 8 hours the last 2 weeks. I promise I'm going to do better about getting it edited and getting it out to you at least 24 hours in advance.
Mm-hmm.
No, really I am.
Likely story.
Also, on the T-shirt front, by the time this episode drops, we will have closed the pre-sale on our T-shirts. So hopefully all of you that have ordered them will have received yours or will have at least a shipping date to let you know when they're coming. More importantly,
the beer
is
Brooklyn Brewery, because we are revisiting. Hopefully by now you've listened to our best of and worst of episode, and you'll know that my favorite episode is episode 3 about a man named Gary Sudbrink. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to report that we're actually going to interview the man and talk about his incident, and hopefully it'll be very entertaining. I know it's going to be entertaining for me, so that's all that really matters. To revisit that, we got Brooklyn Brewery, we got East IPA. It is very, very tasty. I believe when we did it the first time, we did just Brooklyn Lager. I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember back that far. It was over a year ago.
There was a lot of beer involved between then and now.
But, you know, we were sitting around and saying that we would like to interview somebody. And we almost had a pretty big interview locked up, but it kind of fell through for
now.
Another case. Yeah, it fell through for now, but we were really looking forward to that if that would have happened. But
on a whim,
man, I just thought of Gary Sudbrink, said, let's try to get him. And I remembered from the case when we saw on Reddit that somebody had listed his YouTube page, and I went to his YouTube page and just put a comment on one of his videos. Said, hey, man, is this the Gary Sudbrink that got all the weird phone calls? And he was like, yes. I said, be interested in an interview. And surprisingly, he said yeah. So
he agreed.
Yeah.
We were as shocked as you are.
Yeah, no doubt. So, yeah, I mean, I couldn't be happier.
Hopefully you'll get some of your questions answered. Not asked, but answered. Hopefully we clear up a little bit of some of the mystery around part of this case. Listener feedback, and we love feedback. Mr. Jacob Luttrell from Huntsville, Arkansas said that he would really like it if we would put a vote page on which of our 2 theories at the end of each episode that listeners like.
That's a good idea.
And that is a great idea.
That's a real good idea. And I think we're going to have to do it.
I think so. But again, thank you, Jacob, for the feedback. We appreciate everybody that listens to us in Arkansas. Hopefully, we've not made too many enemies out there. So without further ado, we bring you the interview with Mr. Gary Sudbrink.
Thank you very much for being with us, man. It's great.
Sure, no problem.
It's your case fascinates the hell out of me. So
that's good. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird case. Yeah.
All right, we're here with Gary Sudbrink, and am I saying that right, Gary? Sudbrink?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. I don't want to be getting anything wrong. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I've just got off of work, so.
For those of you who may not know, we covered Gary's case on episode 3. If you happen to tune in and listen to our top 5 favorite episodes, you'll know that this was actually my favorite episode of all time, my favorite case. So we are very honored to have him. And Gary, did you listen to our episode?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What did you think of it?
I was okay. I mean, the only part was about that. It was what was that box you were talking about?
The talk boy, talk boy theory.
Yeah. Yeah, that was. You know what's kind of stupid about it is it doesn't take into consideration everything surrounding that event. You know?
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. But again,
you can't just isolate that one thing. You know.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I wholeheartedly I'm a true believer in this case. I didn't even want to talk about the fact that it could be hoax, but we had to at least put a counterpoint on there.
Yeah, just I just figured I had to mention that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's odd is that, after the Mothman movie came out,
mm-hmm.
or just before, I think it was, they republished John Keel's book.
Oh, really?
The Mothman Prophecies, yeah. It was just either before or after, right around the time that movie came out.
Uh-huh.
So when I was reading that, I was really shocked to find out the same exact thing happened to John Keel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with Indri Cold, I believe the entity's name was.
What happened is he called one of his co-workers, I forget, one of the guys he worked with, I forget his name, Jim Mosley. So he calls Mosley, and Mosley says to him, I don't remember the exact quotes from the book, but he said, you called earlier, you sounded like you were drunk,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that didn't happen, Keel would have never known that somebody was impersonating him.
Yes, sir.
So something like that is done on purpose. Otherwise, you would never bring it up and you would never know.
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff is engineered that way.
Yeah, when you talked to Mike and he said that somebody that you had called earlier, I mean, how did that conversation sound? What was said?
Well, he just said that he said something like, you sound better because you sounded like you had a cold yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Something to that effect. And that's when I know something was up, because I didn't call him yesterday. And within, that was, because I landed at the airport the previous day.
Uh-huh.
And then when I spoke to him was the next day. So here it is. The minute I'm finding this out, that's when the phone call came in confirming that somebody, they said that you're being impersonated by the other voice. So
uh-huh.
It's not like they said person or anything. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, the wording of it's just so strange.
Yeah. So the timing would require a phone tap. I mean, there's no way that within seconds of me finding out that a call's going to come in confirming it.
Yeah, so you were actually on the other line with Mike when the call came in.
Yeah, call waiting. I heard the call waiting.
Okay.
That's even odder.
And I had a caller ID, but when it doesn't pick up anything, it just says out of area.
Yes, sir.
That's like a generic, when there's no information, I guess.
And so you just instinctively hit record on the answer machine?
Yeah, I went to the answering machine to hit record.
Uh-huh.
So luckily, I mean...
And thank God you did.
Today, yeah. Because today I don't even know it even has an answering machine, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Your cell phone. Yeah.
I certainly don't.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of gone to the wayside now. Everybody's got a cell phone.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you were in Texas, and you were put on leave, correct? And you were going to visit your family, and a man.
Yeah. So what?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Actually, before this happened, there was an incident where I was in my apartment, and I heard a helicopter. It was really loud, with the propellers.
Yes, sir.
The rotors and all that.
Uh-huh.
So I look out the sliding door, and I see this helicopter outside the perimeter fence, wooden perimeter fence of the apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
Because right outside that is just a dirt field, it's undeveloped. So I'm looking at it, and I see this helicopter like 20 feet off the ground, just hovering there.
Oh, wow.
So I had to get my glasses to get a better look. And, by the time I got my glasses, the thing was gone. So
Holy moly.
So I'm looking out, the sliding door, and I'm thinking, because, when I went back, there's a guy cleaning his car, doing something. So I was going to ask him, did you see that? But it just seemed so ridiculous because it was so obvious. I never asked him,
Yeah. Wow.
So later, when I was I had like a 3-day weekend, and a lot of people are not going to take vacation days when they already have off,
Yes, sir.
You waste them. So, it's kind of funny. I met some people, someone else, and she's like, don't tell anybody, because technically if you're going far away, you have to take leave, like if you're leaving town pretty far.
Yes, sir. Okay.
I guess that's all I could say about that. Anyway, yeah, so so I had a sweater on. I had my Air Force uniform on, but a sweater was covering the name tag under my shirt.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm waiting in the area at the, what do you call it, the gate, yeah. As I'm waiting at the gate, this guy, he's got like brown hair with an overcoat, and he comes over and he just starts, just normal conversation, nothing unusual, just general, how you doing, what's that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So as they're calling Rose out, he's got a little pad, like those little notepads, and he wants to write my name down. It's just freaking weird,
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't. It just seems kind of strange. I didn't want to tell him. So, I mean, I'm thinking like, why? So, anyway, so I get on the plane, and he said Also, he says, "Don't worry, you won't get in trouble."
What?
And that's kind of weird to say too, right? Because I didn't want to give him my name, and then he said that. So, I don't know. It's just weird. Anyway,
so I
get on the plane.
If your name tag was covered, yeah. I mean, so how do you think that they knew that it was you? I mean, just.
Well, he didn't know what my name was. That's why he asked me.
Oh,
I would
okay.
assume.
Uh-huh.
But if I would have had my sweater off, my name would have been visible. So I don't know what would have happened in that case.
Yeah.
Wow.
At least my last name would have.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so I get on the plane, and this guy sits next to me, and he starts just like normal, like if you started a conversation with somebody.
And it was.
So eventually, he's sitting right to my right-hand side. Eventually, someone comes over and says, "You're in my seat." They got the ticket with the seat number.
Mm-hmm.
So he moves over to the middle. And as the plane continues to fill up, he's got to leave that seat, and then he goes to his real seat, which is further back,
Mm-hmm.
But he went into the middle seat because he was still talking back and forth.
And this was a different man than the original guy, correct?
Yeah, this guy had blonde hair and glasses.
Uh-huh.
So when he gets knocked out of the second seat, which is directly to my right in the middle row, behind me is one of those emergency exit doors.
Mm-hmm.
Behind my seat. So he's standing up there, and I forget what we were saying, but before the stewardess asked him to sit down, he wants to know my name too. Wow. So
yeah.
I'm thinking, I knew something was odd, So when I got home, I called the apartment complex and said, I think between the two of them, they knew I lived in San Antonio, and I was going out of town.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I was going on a plane. So I figured, well, maybe they're going to rob my apartment, even though there's nothing to take. But so I just had them look at my apartment and see if anything was missing or messed up, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't see anything. And then, the next day is when the phone call came in.
Okay. So, did you notice that either one of them were talking to other people, or do you feel like that you were specifically singled
no, they
out?
weren't talking to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they weren't talking to anybody else.
So you basically were targeted.
Yeah, I mean, somehow that's connected, and this helicopter incident outside the apartment complex is kind of important because it also happened to my father in Long Island when my brother was there. So they both seen this. Another, it's kind of common in this phenomenon where these helicopters fly low.
Yes, sir.
So that happened around. I wasn't there at the time, but it happened at the house in Long Island when my brother was there, and it came extremely low. I would probably say 30 feet from what he described. And not only that, the thing tilted on its side, which helicopters can't do unless, this is what you had discussions with pilots. They can't do that unless they're actually moving and turning, banking.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the rotors just can't work sideways, and just hover.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yes.
So these helicopter incidents, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
all this weirdness is connected together.
Yeah, I would have been terrified but that's just me because I'm not a very brave person.
Yeah, I was more like awed and I was just more like shocked and shock. What do they call it? Shock and awe.
Yes, sir.
This is like what I was experiencing.
Uh-huh.
And then an incident, like you said, with my brother saying he, during his wedding, this is my older brother.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't see him. And that's when he said, well, I drove up in my car, which was in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
I guess parallel to his car, made faces and then took off. So. But he never told me that until after this phone call incident.
Really?
At the time it happened, he never said anything.
Uh-huh.
Probably because he was having his wedding and all that.
Yeah. Just some
I guess
off.
it kind of makes sense.
So just some off chance he said that you pulled up next to him, made weird faces, and just drove off.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, well, because I had a lot of time to think about this. It says, on the tape it says she'll double a view, and I guess that's, I don't know, maybe it has something to do with that. Doppelgangers and stuff. The whole thing is freaking weird.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course, the timing of everything is important. And these people, the incident with the helicopter, the people at the airport, I mean, all this ties in together. So it's not like you can separate that from the phone call.
Yeah. Well, do you think the incident when your brother saw you, do you think that's connected as well?
Yeah, I don't know what else to make of it.
Yeah.
What's the time frame?
So
there's a lot of freakish things that happen. I mean,
so what?
My mother was getting treated for cancer in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another weird example. They go to the doctor's office, and I don't know why they brought this up, but the doctor said your daughter called and wanted to know about your renal function. And we don't have I just have two brothers. We don't have a daughter. So I said I don't have a sister. So.
Holy moly!
And then we asked around who could have possibly called. Who would know who the doctor is and what his phone number is, and why would they ask that? And that's never been solved. So.
Dang.
Oh.
How many years after that was it?
I don't know what to make of it. I mean.
So what year was that?
That was probably, I would say, the year 2000.
Oh wow.
Right around that time.
So your brother's wedding. What was the time frame between the wedding and the phone call? Like what?
Geez, let's see. It had to be at least a year, I think.
Oh wow.
I'm thinking it couldn't have been. I'd have to remember. I don't remember. I would say at least a year. I think somewhere about a year. Wasn't that long? Or maybe it could have been 6 months, maybe.
Okay.
Anyway, 6 months to a year, I would say.
All right.
So it wasn't that close. Probably more like I would say a year.
Yeah.
At least. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah.
Wow.
A year before.
And then, so let's get to the actual the phone calls. So you
Okay.
You call Mike to just tell him that you're in town, and I'm just trying to get a picture of what all went down.
Oh, so I called him, and he just, during the conversation, brought up that I sounded like I had a cold last night when I called him. And that's what really set things off.
And then immediately he gets the...
I mean, what made him say that? I mean...
Yeah.
You know, he could have easily just never brought that up.
Yeah. Do you think if he
he
hadn't have brought that up, that they would have intervened, or do you think they would just...
Well, somehow it had to be... unless the message would have been different. I don't know, but I think these things could put thoughts into your head.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Like you say this, or say, it just seems too much of a coincidence. Because a lot of these times, when you hear stories about these men in black, people do stuff that they normally wouldn't do, like let strangers in their house.
Yeah.
Or something. So they have some control over your behavior. I mean, to a certain extent, at least anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty odd. So I did get to talk to Bud Hopkins about it.
Mm-hmm.
So he listened to the tape,
Yes, sir.
And he said some of it seemed like, some of it, of course, seemed like it was repeating itself.
Uh-huh.
And then other times it seemed interactive. Like it could easily be interactive when I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Like spontaneous.
What was his take on it? What did he say?
Oh, that was one of the things he mentioned.
Uh-huh.
How it could be spun.
Yeah.
In certain. And then, he was showing me pictures of this other blonde guy with glasses, but the chin was much more tapered.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because the two people I described seem very similar to some cases he had, but this blonde guy with the glasses, his chin didn't seem tapered, like the picture, the drawing he showed me.
Yeah.
And, then he asked me, it was something about a big bee on you, like if you were sleeping and something, I don't remember right. Would you be more intimidated with a giant bee or a bunch of bees? And, well, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, yeah, so, it's still a mystery I can't solve.
Yeah. Excuse me. So about how long into the conversation with Mike before the other call came in?
I would say, let's see. I'd say about 10 seconds, maybe.
Wow.
Not more than 10 seconds.
So yeah, definitely a tapped phone situation.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty damn quick.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, let's see, 10, 15 at most, probably even possibly less.
Wow.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's no way that's coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everything else added to it,
Yeah.
all the surrounding events. It's just kind of creepy, actually.
Yeah.
And, and then you have John Keel having the same experience in the 60s.
Yeah.
I mean, good Lord. And then, when I said, that mentions to keep an eye on Orion, so I'm thinking, what the hell does Orion have to do with anything?
Yeah.
And then this guy, Robert Duvall, comes out with a book called The Orion Connection, showing how the stars of Orion line up with the pyramids. An aerial view of the pyramids.
Yeah.
Another thing, too, I realized, how Whitley Strieber calls the aliens the visitors?
Say that one more time, sir. I'm sorry.
Oh, Whitley Strieber has called these aliens the visitors.
Uh-huh.
And something extremely subtle is that in the tape, these calls, they don't call them abductions or anything, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
They just call them visitations. You know what's called visitation?
Yes, sir, I do.
So, to me, it seems like that from their point of view, I can see why now with these cubicles and visitors, probably because that's how they introduce themselves or consider themselves or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I just find it odd that he uses that word and it comes up on this tape, in the phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a real subtle key point that not too many people realize.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
Yeah. A lot of weird things, you know. And apparently, there's apparently bases on the moon, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've
We've not touched on the bases on the moon.
yeah, we haven't spoke about it yet, but yeah, we're aware that there's supposedly bases on the moon, and
Yeah, because a lot of, I think some remote viewers picked up on that.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting.
Mm.
I think there was another case, too. I remember reading on the internet somewhere where some guy years later went to visit this Mothman situation
Mm-hmm.
in West Virginia. The whole story's on the internet somewhere, and he started getting phone calls, too. But he had a sophisticated system to try to trace these calls.
Mm-hmm.
And the strangest freaking thing, when they try to trace, I guess the best they could, trace the origin, it showed up as coming from within the house.
What? Really?
Like somebody, yeah, like somebody was actually in the house accessing the phone lines. That's pretty freaking weird.
Yeah.
Kind of moved out.
I forget who it was, and somewhere on the internet, I read the story where the guy revisited or reinvestigated the Mothman case, and then he started getting phone calls. It's been years since I read about that, so I'm not sure of the details, who and when and where and stuff like that.
Do you think it's possible that the entity that called you was the same that called John Keel? You think it was injured cold?
I don't, either it's something, well, I guess it's similar to the MIB, so I don't know. I mean, is it a similar entity or the same one? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But they're using the same techniques. So it's pretty amazing that
Yeah.
when I read the book, I was really, really shocked.
Okay, so the call comes in, and just what was going through your mind? Like, just were you like automatically freaked out, or just? I know you thought it was maybe Steven, your brother, pranking you.
Yeah, because I didn't know what, I mean, it just comes out of left field. You don't expect it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just more shocked and kind of, I don't know, more surprise and shock, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And we just love the fact that your parents got involved and got on the phone, and those
Yeah.
parts crack us up.
The next day, my uncle came over.
Uh-huh.
My uncle, and, because him and my dad went to visit that place in West Virginia, the Green Bank.
Uh-huh.
That's a whole other story, but, so my uncle came over, and he's the one that said, I know, he's the one that broke into the conversation
Mm-hmm.
on that last phone call. Yeah, because he always used to go up on top of the firehouse in New York City and see all sorts of stuff going on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Because my uncle and my dad were in the New York City Fire Department.
Mm-hmm.
So at least my uncle, he used to go up on the roof of the firehouse and, always be looking out for something.
Yeah. So their trip to West Virginia was, what was that sighting?
They went to look at the Green Bank Observatory when one of the radio telescopes collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
they were taking some video, and they were in separate cars. My uncle and my dad had 2 separate cars. And at one point, my dad sees, it kind of looked like a hat with a band around it. It's basically a UFO type thing, with 20 feet across. 20 feet away. And it was kind of small, maybe the size of a VW. So maybe, I don't know, about 30 feet then. But really close and low.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could actually touch it. And then it blinked out. Like it didn't fade away or look like it zipped with a blur. No, it just blinked out.
Wow.
But my uncle didn't get to see that, though, because he was in a different car, on the road somewhere. And so in fact, I remember John Keel saying one time that a lot of people who intensely study the subject
mm-hmm.
wind up interacting with it.
That's great news for us.
Yeah, that's great news for us.
I know, right?
Oh, man.
You never know. It seems to be a common, something that they've noticed.
Uh-huh.
At least he noticed it. Yeah. Not everybody, but.
So, do you think the voice was trying to, would you think it was kind of a warning? What do you think was the meaning behind the calls?
Let's see. I think just to inform me of, I guess, what was happening. I don't know what else to make of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of, think of all this time that passed now and nothing,
Yeah. Just, the abruptness of it, just the fact that it was 4 phone calls and then nothing else is just so strange. It's
just freaking annoying. You think, I'd like to get some follow-up. If I'd seen a freaking MIB, I'd probably try to, because I hear the stories how they just disappear around corners.
Uh-huh.
I try to make sure it doesn't leave my sight and take all sorts of, as many pictures and video as I could, especially now that everybody's got a cell phone. I wonder what would, maybe they're not going to show up anymore because everybody's got cell phones. And
yeah, there's definitely...
These things really shy away from getting any kind of physical evidence.
Uh-huh.
I think if you were out in the forest somewhere and like a Bigfoot or something was coming after you, it would be more afraid of a live video feed with hundreds of people watching than it would be if you had like a 50 cal rifle. And I think these things are more afraid of that kind of stuff. It's just amazing. If anything scares them, it's like having as much proof as possible of their existence.
Yeah.
At least that's my take on it.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. Which makes sense. Otherwise, they would make themselves known, and obviously they don't want to.
Yeah. Now, to me, honestly, if I would have got those phone calls, I probably still would not be sleeping well. Were you scared? Was you concerned?
It didn't really bother me. It was more of a, it did bother me a little bit, but more of a mystery than anything. I was kind of amazed, actually, at the whole thing. Because it was just, it was one event, a series of events like that.
Mm-hmm.
The helicopter, the people at the airport, and then that,
Yeah.
It's more of like a shotgun type surprise type thing. I guess it would be a lot worse if something just suddenly appeared in your room at night.
Oh, definitely.
Like one of these freaking MIBs or some kind of stupid type sound person or something.
Yeah. So...
You know what? When I was in San Antonio, it's another thing. When I was in San Antonio, I don't know why, I was always paranoid at night that something would come into the room at night.
Mm-hmm.
This could be a subconscious thing. And I didn't have an alarm, so I kind of did something real tricky. I took one of these metal pans for like cooking cookies on or whatever the hell, pizza or something.
Yeah.
So I put that underneath to the bedroom. I put the metal pan underneath the door handle, and then I balanced some coins on top of the handle, so if somebody turns it, would fall and make a crap load of noise
Oh,
in
wow.
the metal pan.
Oh, that is creative.
Yeah, I don't know. But for a while, I was maybe something happened. I don't remember. You know, I mean, I don't know why I was so concerned about something coming in at night when I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
So who knows? You know, I mean, they freaking erase your memory and stuff. So yeah. I mean, that might be something too. Like there.
Have you tried to do any type of like maybe hypnosis or anything like that to try to see if there is any repressed memories?
No, I never really tried it. Yeah.
I mean, that's a good point. You never know. They may have.
Yeah, I mean, there could be other crap that I don't even know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be pretty interesting to find out.
And it is. I mean, it's very strange the fact that you never heard anything else after the 4 phone calls. I mean, especially since, you know, you've told your story, people are aware of it. You would think that there would be some sort of follow-up or some sort of worse warning. I mean, you recorded the voice. You put it out there.
Yeah. I know. It's not like I didn't get any MIB after that, you know, saying don't talk about it like some people do or nothing like that.
Uh-huh. Wow. Now, do you think the MIBs are government, or do you think it's beyond that?
No, they're definitely involved with this UFO subject, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They just made, for simplicity's sake, and they happened to make a movie out of it. Because some people actually thought they were government agents because they pretended to be Air Force people or someone else, you know.
Uh-huh.
That's what started that theory.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's other ones where they probably on purpose appear extremely odd. You know.
Uh-huh.
I think they do that crap on purpose. I don't think it's a mistake. You know.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, they're doing it intentionally. I mean, if they want to look real weird, that's intentional because they want you to know I'm not just some guy walking around.
Yeah.
Another human type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want you to know that this is serious fucking business.
Yeah, they want to know this is what's happening now is unusual, and but they don't want to appear so freaking out of place where, you know, someone calls the police on them either.
Yeah.
They got to go down a fine line type of thing. Yeah. So yeah, they're pretty freaking sneaky in a way, and God only knows what they're up to. It's probably not good.
I doubt it's good.
Yeah, it's probably some kind of crap, you know. Probably, if we knew it, probably be pretty angry.
Mm-hmm. So, what did the aftermath look like once the calls are done? I mean, you just returned to San Antonio. Who did you tell? I mean, what was?
I just told some people I was friends with, you know.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, that's about it, you know.
And
and then actually, my dad contacted Linda Howe, and she did call out Bell and do an episode. I would say probably about 15 minutes. She talked about it.
Yeah.
On Art Bell's show. That
Yeah.
was back. I forget what year it was.
So,
Maybe like a year later, or within 6 months or something.
yeah.
Probably within 6 months. Yeah.
Was it when he was still doing Coast to Coast, or was that in the desert?
It was called Dreamland.
Midnight in the Desert.
With Linda Howe, and when was that? Yeah, it was way the hell back a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But that episode now is no longer available.
Mm-hmm.
They lost some of their files, even though I have a copy of it.
Really?
Because I ordered it. Yeah, what it did is I had to order an audio cassette tape of that program. I had to pay for it. You know? So I ordered the whole damn program that night, you know, a cassette tape. Because I wanted a copy of it. I didn't get to hear it. When it actually broadcast live, I didn't get to hear it. You know, it's always late and stuff like that.
Yeah. What made you want to put it out there?
Well, we didn't. It was her idea to go to Art Bell, but we called her to see what insight she can give us.
Yeah. Okay, so you're basically just looking for answers.
Yeah, because she's like an expert on all this stuff. So she said after this aired, she got one phone call. Think how many radio stations it's on, right?
Mm-hmm.
She got one phone call from somebody in California who had a similar incident, but she didn't have a tape and she didn't elaborate any further.
Really?
So out of all the people that listened, there was only one person that to say they had a similar situation. This was a phone call anyway.
Well, I mean, that just doesn't mean, I mean, probably there's been several other incidents and the people are just too frightened to say anything.
Yeah, well, but it seems pretty rare now, this type of thing.
Yeah.
It's certainly uncommon, that's for sure. But according to the phone call, they're dealing with a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, they said to visit the many, so they're dealing with a lot of people. Doing what? I have no idea.
And I mean, I think...
and then they use the word visit, you know?
Yeah.
And that's another real important point, too.
Keep an eye on the skies near Orion. It's just, it's so cryptic and...
Yeah, it's not like a normal conversation.
No, like, just come out and say what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah, because at first, I when he said, how long are you going to be back from Texas?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't clicking, you know? And
yeah.
then, how long are you going to be back in New York? But yeah, for some reason, it just threw me off. I don't know why it threw me off.
Yeah. And then at some point asked who you were. It's like, what the heck do you mean? You called me. You should know who I am.
Yeah, you know, I'm thinking maybe because I wasn't responding the way they thought I was.
Mm-hmm.
Or something I think, how can they not know my voice? They have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only thing I think of. I mean, I have a feeling they didn't expect me to react like that.
How do you think they?
Maybe that's why they asked. Yeah.
What do you think they were wanting you to do? Just cower in fear, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the hell to make of it.
I mean, the question. Another question I would have is why? I mean, why you? You know, why were you targeted?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. Nobody knows. You know.
Yeah.
Why certain people. That would be extremely useful information to find out. I wish we knew. I mean, I'm sure there's a reason. We just don't know what the reason is. You know?
Yeah. I mean, you were in the Air Force, and I mean, your father had a sighting, but it just seems so strange that they're targeting you specifically when it was your father that had the sighting, and I mean, you weren't even.
Right. That's good. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I just wish I had some answers.
Yeah, I know. Me too. That would be freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell's going on.
And
I wonder how much the government actually knows, and they're just not telling us. You know.
Well, I mean, it's kind of ironic that just recently, the Pentagon is declassifying some things, saying that essentially admitting that aliens are real, and.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, especially that new program, Unidentified, is excellent. Really
yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, they're coming out with a lot of credible witnesses and actual evidence, you know, like radar evidence, and
yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, those military, the military videos that they're releasing is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, multiple pilots seeing it. Now, come on, you can't just dismiss that.
No, not at
like
all.
Somebody's skeptics. You know, like that idiot. What's that skeptic organization? Not, you know, unless an alien actually punched them in the face, they wouldn't believe it. Or they pretend not to believe in it.
Yeah.
But they actually do in private what they actually believe. Privately, probably is a different story. I forget, what was that Skeptics magazine? You know, you got all those Shermer and the other guy that passed away, Phil Klass.
Yeah.
Philip Klass is an asshole.
He was a real character, that guy.
Yeah, he was.
I seen him once at one of these conferences.
Uh-huh.
He's sitting at the desk sleeping, for Christ's sake. I think he actually, I can't remember if he had a tape recorder. It's like, you know, I mean, for someone who doesn't believe it, why would you show up for a conference? I mean, I don't believe in a flat Earth, and that's why I wouldn't go to a flat Earth conference.
Yeah, no doubt.
This guy's supposedly a skeptic, yet he shows up for one of these freaking conferences. And he's not like a speaker or anything, so why show up? I don't know. He's just a weird guy.
Yeah.
And he was pretty nasty, too, when it came to debunking people.
He would attack
You know, he would always attack somebody's character. And yeah, I mean, you know. I don't know. He's probably one of those insiders that his job was to, like, squash any kind of information like this, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's possible that, you know, that was his job. Maybe the government was paying him to do some, you know,
yeah, definitely.
Counterintelligence and try to discredit everything and
help keep the lid on everything.
Yeah. That's entirely possible.
Yeah. I guess that's all I really got to add to it.
Yeah. So you just can't buy into my talk boy theory, huh? You don't.
No, that's crazy. I mean, because then I have to discount everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, someone would have to call within 15 seconds, hire people to meet me at the airport, strangers.
Yeah.
Fly a helicopter around. I mean, you know, it's fucking ridiculous. I mean,
well,
and then they would have to know, you know, they'd have to know that the aliens themselves consider them visits, and different wording, the sentencing structure. There's just so many other subtle things that people don't take into consideration. The fact that it happened to John Keel, extremely similar situation. I mean, it's not like I was the first one. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it happened to him. None of this is considered when they bring up theories like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's an excellent point. And
yeah.
It was very strange. It was something I meant to mention earlier. It's so strange how the voice sounded like it was just losing steam. Like it just felt like it was fading away at times.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, that is. In fact, yes, because some of the MIBs, like Justin Danforth was talking about in his book, they say some of these things say like they're losing energy and they have to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things we pointed out, we were talking about Justin Bamforth, you know, one of the things that I liked that really gives you, you know, a lot of credibility is the fact that you haven't really, I mean, you've put it out there and you let people know about the situation, but you haven't been trying to, well, profit off of it if you could possibly, or, you know, you're not trying to be a celebrity, you know what I mean?
No, because after the incident happened, you know, it was on the Art Bell show, but that was because Linda Howe wanted to present it.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, between then and the time Justin's book came out, I never brought it up again.
Yeah.
You know, because what's her name? Sue Switek from UFON director for one of the states over there.
Mm-hmm.
I happened to tell her about it. She got interested and told Justin about it, Danforth. And that's how it came out in the open again.
Yeah.
But before that, it's been buried. And, you know, I would know people. I mean, I could have friends that I know for 15 years or longer. It doesn't matter. And if they didn't believe in the subject, I would never bring it up.
Yeah.
Why bother? I mean, if somebody doesn't believe these things exist, I don't care how well I know them or how long. I'm not going to bring it up to them.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's how it's been ever since.
Just thank God that you had the forethought to hit record. I mean, it'd be so hard to convince anyone.
I know, yeah. I just got extremely lucky, basically.
Yeah. Because, I mean, just imagine trying to tell people with zero proof. And
right.
It just, because it's such a crazy story. It's such a crazy case. And it's completely unbelievable. But you have the proof.
Yeah, and then you got John Keel and other people who had kind of experiences like that.
Mm-hmm.
And just like you mentioned in the first episode, when Jackson Hardy had weird things happen to him too. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a very interesting story too about him receiving those phone calls.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I just want to say I truly appreciate you being on the show, and man, it's been a pleasure and an honor.
Sure, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, sir. Well, you take care, okay?
Okay,
All right.
take care then.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
What about that helicopter? That's crazy.
That is absolutely insane. And then for him not to, even discuss that until he's talking to us. I mean, that's just another.
I mean, he didn't even. That is brand new information that
Right.
that nobody even knew.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I like how he stated that once the phone call happened, he starts kind of going back in his memory.
Yeah.
And it starts falling. Well, you saw the helicopter. Then, I should have went out there and asked that guy, but how did he not see it? It was a damn helicopter 20 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to ask him. And then, with him saying that he contacted the landlord to keep an eye on his thing. And I thought it was very interesting that he stated that he had put a sweater on over his
Name tag. Yeah.
I wonder now what would have happened if he hadn't. Would things have gotten even stranger, or would they have tried to just sit next to him on the plane, follow him? At least he had the forethought not to tell him his name.
Yeah. Man, it's just so. God, it's just so crazy. And I mean, he's right. It's just like he has no answers. Like, it's been decades.
Yeah, and he still has
no answer.
Yeah, and the whole thing with that episode of the Art Bell show, it's not in the art. Well, I guess it is in their archives, but it's not on the internet. And then the fact that they got Linda Moulton Howe to discuss this, it just proves. I think it proves his credibility.
Yeah. Man. Just thank God that he hit record, because he's right. I mean, if that happened now,
nobody. How would you do? I
don't even know how you would record it now.
Yeah, I don't either, unless you go to voice memos. But I'm not even sure you could do it then.
No.
And would you have the forethought? It would take so long to get it. And then another thing is, are you going to answer it on a cell phone now with all the spam risk that block these calls and things like that?
I mean, I hope that was a good interview. I was kind of fanboying it,
No, you did a great job.
Man, just crazy. Like,
it is.
To us, that guy's a celebrity because, like I said in the best episode, that's my favorite case because of the audio. It's just so crazy.
Well, I think it's one of my favorite cases as well, just because of it poses so many questions that no one can answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect for it's 100% perfect for this podcast. It's cases like that are the reason why we wanted to do this. But yeah, I mean, the fact that he put it out there, that we're discussing it, we're interviewing him about it, and there's never been any other contact. You would think that they would want him to be silent about it.
Right. You would think
why,
a lot of the MIB stories are, you're talking too much.
Yeah. Why would they allow that? It's just so crazy. I hope we don't.
God, when he said that, I was like, I've got to drive home.
Yeah. And he's like, people that study it get to be involved in it. No.
That's not what we're looking at.
We don't want to be involved in it.
We already have the van out front.
Yeah,
we have our own agents.
We just want to talk about it. But man.
But trust us, if one of us has an experience, you will be the first to know.
Yeah, well. Whew.
I may have to figure out how to press record if you haven't experienced it like 2 a.m. I'd be
Dude,
like, what? Hold on.
So, well, ladies and gentlemen, that was our interview with Gary Sudbrink. If you haven't, we probably should have said this before we interviewed him, but if you haven't listened to the episode, it is episode 3. Please forgive the audio. We've got better equipment now, but man, it was a case that we had to cover. It was when I made my list of cases, it was definitely right up at the tippy top. So,
well, and for our first couple of episodes, I will have to say somehow we got all the dials turned the right way, and it was one of our better first episodes.
Yeah, So when people meet me and when people see me in person, my friends, and they find out I have this podcast, they always ask, what's the episode I need to listen to? And I always say, forgive the audio, but listen to episode 3. It's freaking crazy. Oh man. So, we
don't have theories because we've already discussed all that. I like the fact though that he wasn't belligerent about the talk boy. He just, that's not. I've been listening to a lot of like podcasts where they discuss. They go in depth about linguistics and how people talk about real things and things like that. You could tell that this is a true story. He's not making it up because when we brought up the talk boy, it just didn't happen. And that's a genuine reaction to something that a person feels is completely false. They're just going to, no, I'm not even going to entertain that because I lived it. You don't know what I went through. That's not possible.
Yeah.
And I think also we didn't ask him because he kind of hinted around, or not really hinted around, but he kind of danced around the fact that, no, the talk boy is not going to be, that's not a plausible answer to this whole thing. Also, by saying that, he doesn't entertain the theory that this was a friend that was trying to prank him either.
Yeah.
And I also like the fact that he keeps it close to the vest, as he said right there at the end of the interview. When I meet people, it's not one of my party tricks to, oh yeah, I got this phone call. And he said within, a couple of minutes, I'll know whether or not I'm going to bring that up.
Yeah. I mean, look, I know that my talk boy theory was shit when I said it the first time.
But I
had to say it.
I was going to say, as a podcast, we have to bring up the other side.
I 1,000% believe Gary. 1,000% believe him. I do not think it's a hoax.
No, I don't either. I don't think he was hoaxed unknowingly. I don't think he hoaxed it. I think this was a true experience. I think after his experience, he, like most everyone, tried to find answers, and then he got, like he said, he read the book. He realized John Keel had an example of the same thing. And he's just a man trying to find answers, like any of us out there, that if we got a strange phone call, we're going to try to find a plausible answer to it.
Yeah.
We don't have our theories on this case just because we've already discussed that.
My theory is the man had an MIB experience, but for what purpose, I don't know. I can't tell you.
And I wonder, we didn't get a chance to ask him, and it's been so long. I wonder if, hopefully he listens to this episode and maybe he can reach back out to us. But I wonder if he thought back, did he work on something when he was in the military? Did he happen to, someone thought he saw something, but he really didn't, and so they're checking up on him? Those kind of questions. Yeah. But again, I'm with you. I think he is 1,000% truthful, credible, and this was a real experience. So, recommendations?
I recommend episode 3, Mysterious Brews.
Well, I'm going to go away from that, and I'm going to recommend another podcast. And if you are a true crime fanatic, you like the ins and outs of that genre, the criminal profiling, if you've not heard of them, which I was, and they have over 240 episodes, but it is called Real Crime Profile. It is a podcast that Jim Clemente, former FBI profiler, Laura Richards, she is a criminal behavior analyst and former New Scotland Yard officer, and Miss Lisa Zambetti, she is the casting director for CBS Criminal Minds.
Uh-oh.
They do episodes, and their first 4 episodes is they dissect Making a Murderer, the Stephen Avery case. And then the second case that they tackle, and I have not listened to it yet, and I'm dying to just because of the ins and outs that they find, the little minute details, they actually go over the O.J. Simpson case.
Really?
They do some high-profile cases.
He did it.
Oh, no shit. Just looking through their other episodes, they actually go and meet with the arresting officer, James Fitzgerald, in the Unabomber case.
Wow.
They go over the Orlando mass shooting. They go over Oscar Pistorius. You know, if there's a high-profile case out there, look through their episodes. They have a lot of good cases. And they, in the Making a Murderer episodes, they kind of, disagree on some points, but they objectively put their theories out there. So, again, I'm kind of rambling, but if you're into true crime and you have not heard of Real Crime Profile, look them up as a podcast. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, Coach, you got anything else?
Man, I'm just over.
He's got a glow about him.
Yeah,
boys
I'm over the moon, man. I can't believe that we actually got him to do an interview. That's just phenomenal. I'm just so happy.
High point for this to be episode 51, hey, I think we did all right.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm just so happy that we decided to do this. Just the things that have happened because we decided to start a podcast of stuff that we would sit around and talk about. Just me and you shooting the shit. And you kept saying it forever. Like, we should do a podcast. We should do a podcast. Like, yeah, whatever. We ain't going to do no podcast. Then you just call me and you're like, hey, man, I bought equipment. And I'm like, well, shit, I think we're going to do a podcast.
So, yeah, thank you to all of our patrons. Thank you to all of our fans on our social media. Thank you to our wives for allowing us to do this. And those of you that don't get on social media but listen to us and downloads, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are on Podbean now. I think they finally allowed our feed to be in there. We don't have a whole lot of advertising on Podbean, but if you are a Podbean subscriber to other podcasts, look us up on there, and that will help us out a lot. So with that, Coach, deuces.